Late in the afternoon on Friday, it was revealed that even more Republican lawmakers than we had previously known about were in fact trying to help Donald Trump steal the 2020 election. These new members of Congress include Republican Representatives Scott Perry from Pennsylvania, Louis Gohmert from Texas, Jim Jordan from Ohio, and Matt Gaetz of Florida, as well as several other members of the House Freedom Caucus. So, it's expanded, right? And the reason, by the way, that we even know this happened is because, of course, Mark Meadows is suing to prevent the January 6th committee from getting even more of his communications. But in the court filing on Friday afternoon, it was revealed that one of Mark Meadows' aides had actually testified in front of the committee, and that is where all of this new information came from. These individuals had been texting with Mark Meadows. They had attended meetings, both with Meadows and with Rudy Giuliani. Some of them attended one and not the other, just for, clarification, but they were still actively involved in this former administration's plot to do whatever they could to overturn the results of the 2020 election, including plans to possibly send back the electors, send back the votes, and tell the states, give us another set of electors. We're not gonna acknowledge these folk. So that's a pretty big deal, right? Here is a rundown from Reuters, by the way, of what we found in that new court filing. Committee chronicled Meadows' frenetic activity in the final weeks before January 6th, with his actions including helping the campaign craft and distribute talking points about election fraud in concert with allies like attorney Cleta Mitchell and campaign advisor Jason Miller, communicating with Raffensperger and his deputy Jason Fuchs around efforts to get Georgia officials to overturn the results in the state, texting often with Perry about plans to install Clark at the Justice Department in order to use DOJ's power to cast doubt on the legitimacy of the election, meeting in his office with retired Army Colonel Phil Waldron, who was pushing for Trump to invoke national security procedures as part of a plan to seize control of voting machines, and conducting an array of calls on January 6th from a secure control car that was part of Trump's motorcade. And that's just what we know of from that one aide's testimony. And of course, we only know about this right now. The committee has known about it, obviously, but we only know about it right now because Meadows decided to file a stupid little lawsuit and say, no, you can't have more of my communications because, these are protected by executive privilege and other privileges that I may have had. So the committee submitted this information to the court to say, listen, this is not anything that is privileged. He was not acting as Donald Trump's chief of staff to advise him on policy matters. He was acting more as a campaign aide, which would of course mean none of this is protected by anything. And of course, if they're able to show in this filing a dire need, which I do believe they showed, for the extra communications that Meadows was trying to hide from the committee, then of course the judge will still look at it and be like, sure, even if these things are protected by any kind of privilege you claim, which we've already established, by the way, that they're not in court, then yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say they can have them because these seem to be relevant to a potential criminal activity. So that's where we stand right now. But the big revelation, obviously, is these additional lawmakers that had not been previously named, some of them, in these plots to overturn the election results. So the big question, of course, is what do we do now? The committee has made it clear they're not going to subpoena, they're not going to ask for testimony from any sitting members of Congress. Okay, so these guys get off the hook, right? Gohmert, Gaetz, Jordan, Perry, we're just not gonna talk to any of them. And I understand why Congress, of course, doesn't want to do that, right? Then it does get highly political, even though it is basically looking for criminal activity. But you know who wouldn't have that problem? A special prosecutor appointed by the DOJ, and I'm still waiting on that to happen because the committee is hamstrung by what they can and feel like they cannot do. A special prosecutor would not have these limitations. A special prosecutor would not have these hesitations, and that is why we need it now more than ever. One of today's video sponsors is Emmy, a plant-based ramen noodle that packs a huge amount of protein and minerals into your diet without adding the level of carbs found in instant ramen noodles. And right now they've got a special offer for our Ring of Fire viewers. Go to immyeats.com, that's IMMI eats.com/ROF, and enter the code ROF at checkout to get $5 off of a variety pack. IMMI is low carb. With only 6 grams of net carbs per serving, IMMI makes it easy to reach your health goals. Has a high level of protein, 21 grams of protein to be exact, and each serving of IMMI helps you to stay full longer. IMMI is 100% plant-based and dairy-free, and it's good for digestive health with 18 grams of fiber, which is up to 4 times more fiber than other instant ramen brands. And unlike the sodium and preservative-laden ramen packs on the shelf, IMMI's nutrition-packed ramen has up to 35% less sodium than their competitors, and it leaves you full and satisfied without the post-ramen bloating and thirst. IMMI is super easy to prepare in the microwave or stovetop, and you can have a bowl ready in just 7 minutes. The delicious flavors include spicy beef ramen and black garlic chicken ramen. IMMI is also proud to offer a 100% happiness guarantee, so you can try IMMI risk-free and decide for yourself if IMMI is worth it. If you're not happy with your IMMI, they will offer you a full refund within 30 days of your purchase. So click the link below and use code ROF at checkout, or go to immyeats.com, that's IMMI eats.com/ROF for $5 off your order. That's immyeats.com/ROF, or simply click the link below and use code ROF for $5 off a variety pack today.